A very good morning. It's just past 8 this Monday morning and we're back again with another edition of Breakfast News. The week gone by has been interesting. US presidential elections going down to the wire. One person edging past the 270 mark. Also a look ahead at the week. This week we've got the Bihar elections and the results that are expected tomorrow. So loads to look forward to even this week. I'm Anil Thomas. With me this morning is my colleague Nancy Kohli. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Anil. How are you doing this morning?
Doing perfectly well to begin the week.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, like Anil mentioned, we'll of course, we have focused a lot on the week gone by in our previous bulletins. But today we're going to be focusing on the Bihar counting that will take place tomorrow. So all the preparations are in place for that. The countdown has begun, and also in fact we'll also be talking about the various development projects that will be inaugurated or laid the foundation stone by Prime Minister Modi through video conferencing in Varanasi today. We'll get you all the updates on that and more news from across the world, sports and business updates. Stay with us for the next 1 hour. Let's take a look at the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of various development projects worth over 600 crore rupees in Varanasi today. Prime Minister Modi will also interact with the beneficiaries of these projects during the event.
All arrangements by the Election Commission of India in place for counting of votes for the Bihar Assembly elections on Tuesday. The fate of candidates on 243 Assembly seats will be known tomorrow as the exit polls predict a close fight between the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan.
India's fight against COVID-19 pandemic continues to be on the upward trajectory, with the recovery rate leaping past the 92% mark. Case fatality rate further improves to stand at 1.48%, with over 49,000 patients recovering in the last 24 hours.
The National Green Tribunal to pronounce its order today on the imposition of ban on the firecrackers across 23 states and union territories amidst the rising pollution levels and the COVID-19 pandemic. Several states have already announced the ban on the firecrackers.
The Bombay High Court to pronounce its order on a plea filed by Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami challenging his arrest by the Mumbai police in a 2018 abetment of suicide case and seeking interim bail. Well, those were the headlines on Monday morning. Now for the stories in detail. Starting first up, what do we have in store?
Yes, in fact, we'll be talking about the various development projects for which Prime Minister Modi will in fact be inaugurating and laying the foundation stone of in Varanasi through video conferencing today. And in fact, the Prime Minister will also be interacting with the beneficiaries of these projects during the event. Now, the total cost of the implication of these projects is 614 crore rupees. The projects to be inaugurated include the Sarnath Light and Sound Show, the upgradation of Lal Bahadur Shastri Hospital, Ramnagar, the sewage-related works, infrastructure facilities for protection and conservation of cows, and multi-purpose seed storehouse. It also includes agriculture produce warehouse of 100 metric tons, integrated power development scheme, Phase 2, a housing complex for players in Sampuranand Stadium, Varanasi City Smart Lighting Work, along with 105 Anganwadi Kendras and 102 Gaon Ashray Kendras. Now, Prime Minister Modi will also be laying the foundation stone for several projects, including the redevelopment of the Shashwamedh Ghat and the Khidkiya Ghat, the barracks, also for the PAC police force, redevelopment of certain wards of Kashi as well. And let's now go across to our correspondent Arun Sharma, who will be giving us more details as far as these development projects in Varanasi are concerned. Arun, good morning. Through these projects, of course, once again, the focus is on development of Varanasi and the immense benefits that these development infrastructure projects are going to be bringing to the people of Varanasi.
Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Anil. And of course, the focus of today's inauguration program is on giving a major push to the civic infrastructure of a culturally rich city, that's Varanasi. We know this fact that various developmental projects worth more than 600 crore rupees will be inaugurated. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be laying the foundation stone of certain of the projects in order to give a major push to the Varanasi city's infrastructure. Important aspect is also that, Nancy, that we have seen that Varanasi has been a favorite destination for the foreign tourists as well, be it from Europe, be it from US, and various foreign leaders like Emmanuel Macron, the then Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. They've also visited the city of Varanasi because it's a culturally rich and heritage city. Varanasi is, and that's the reason today's infrastructure project will play an important role in giving a major push to the infrastructure of Varanasi. Important is also the redevelopment of the Dashashwamedh Ghat and of course the Khidkiya Ghat, because the focus of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been of redevelopment of all the ghats in Varanasi, which is a center of attraction of all the tourists in Varanasi. So redevelopment of the Dashashwamedh Ghat and of course the Khidkiya Ghat will play an important role. Second important part is that today's inaugural project also includes from various sectors, that is agriculture, healthcare sector, and of course the civic infrastructure. The light and sound show in the entire Varanasi city and of course in the Sarnath. When we talk about the light and sound show, this will give a major push to the beautification of the entire Varanasi city. And on the other side, the upgradation of the hospital of Lal Bahadur Shastri Hospital at Ramnagar. Right. This will be an upgradation as far as the bedding capacities are concerned, various healthcare equipments are concerned. So in that context, it will be a major push in all the directions of Varanasi.
Sure. Okay, Arun, considering that Prime Minister is the MP from that particular seat of Varanasi, there has been attempts to make all-round development, especially when it comes to Varanasi. What's the sense that you pick from the ground? You travel with the Prime Minister. What's the sense you pick from the ground when it comes to cleanliness, when it comes to the cleaning, and especially when it comes to the ghats?
So we know this fact that cleanliness is something that's the prime agenda of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
True.
And when we talk about ghats have played an important role in attracting the tourists, number one. Number two, we know this fact that whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was a Chief Minister of Gujarat, or when he is heading this constituency of Varanasi, he's an elected MP from Varanasi. The focus and idea of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to do better water management work. That means the ghat related work, the riverfront related work. So in Uttar Pradesh, we have seen that various upgradation of various ghats are being done. When we talk about Bihar, we have seen that upgradation of various riverfront projects have been done as far as Bihar is concerned. In Gujarat, we have seen various riverfront related projects have been done by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So idea is as to how can ghats be beautified, how can redevelopment of ghats can be done. And today, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be laying the foundation stone for redevelopment of the Dashashwamedh Ghat, this is one of the largest ghats of the various ghats in Varanasi, and the Khidkiya Ghat. This will play an important role in attracting the tourists, because most of the tourists, when they visit to Kashi, their prime attraction is visiting these ghats, and the beautification of these ghats will play an important role in bringing cleanliness in Varanasi city.
Absolutely. All right, Arun, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing these details as far as Prime Minister Modi launching the development projects in Varanasi is concerned. Well, clearly the focus on development and redevelopment works there in Varanasi, bringing immense benefit there to the people of Varanasi, and in fact also enhancing the religious and economic tourism there of the place.
Well, three things that would be affected. One is agriculture gets a big push, tourism along with infrastructure, civic infrastructure, as Arun mentioned, getting a big push, especially when it comes to this project. Moving on, the government continues to procure Kharif 2020-21 crops at its MSP from farmers as per the existing MSP scheme in the ongoing Kharif marketing season. That's the KMS for 2020-21. Paddy procurement continues smoothly with the purchase of over 248.99 LMTs of paddy up to 7th November, as against the year corresponding purchase of 207.63 LMT, showing an increase of 19.92% over last year. Of this, Punjab alone has contributed around 175.24 LMTs, which is 70.37% of the total procurement. About 21,09,000 farmers have already been benefited from the ongoing KMS procurement operations, with MSP valued at over 47,000 crores. Further, based on the proposal from the states, Approval was accorded for procurement of 45.10 LMTs of pulse and oil seeds for several states under the price support scheme, that's the PSS scheme. The government has procured 31,988.2 metric tons of moong, urad, groundnut pods and soya bean having MSP value of 171.6 crore rupees, benefiting 18,949 farmers as against the last year's corresponding purchase of 17,586.31 metric tons, which is an increase of 81.89% for pulses and oil seeds. Similarly, 5,089 metric tons of Kupwara, the perennial crop having MSP value of 52.40 crores, has been procured, benefiting 3,961 farmers. Procurement operations of seed cotton, that's carpus under MSP, is also going on smoothly in many states.
And in fact, we'll be getting you more details as far as the National Green Tribunal. The National Green Tribunal is concerned. Well, that will in fact be pronouncing its order on the imposition of the ban on crackers across 23 states and union territories amidst the double whammy of the pollution crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, earlier this week, the NGT had sought response of the Union Environment Ministry, the governments of Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan, the Central Pollution Control Board, the Delhi Police Commissioner and the Delhi Pollution Control Committee on whether the use of firecrackers should be banned from 7th to 30th November. The tribunal on Wednesday had issued notices to 23 states and union territories regarding the imposition of a ban on the firecrackers in a bid to protect the health of the vulnerable groups. A batch of pleas in the matter sought their stand on whether the firecrackers be banned for the period from 7th to 30th November in the interest of the public health and the environment. The tribunal also sought response of other states on a batch of applications seeking a ban on the firecrackers across the country during the time the air quality is unsatisfactory.
Well, for more on that story, we'll go across to our correspondent Vikas Sarthi, who joins us with more. Vikas, well, let's also take a look at what exactly Delhi has been troubled with, or the national capital region that's been troubled with. The air quality in Delhi has deteriorated further and is in the severe category on Sunday evening. According to the Central Pollution Control Board, the city's air quality index, that's AQI, was recorded at 421 at 5 p.m. The System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research SAFAR has forecast that the air quality will stay at the severe category to the highest end of very poor category today as well. SAFAR has advised people to avoid all physical activity outdoors. It has asked people to stop any activity level if they experience any unusual coughing, chest discomfort, wheezing, breathing difficulty or fatigue. An air quality index between 201 and 300 is considered poor, 301 to 400 very poor, and 401 to 500 severe. But for more on the story, Vikas Sarthi, a correspondent, joining us. Vikas, the NGT is very clearly going to order, to pass it, is all set to announce an order with regards to banning of firecrackers. But especially in 23 states and union territories. But what's the sense? Has any state, in North India come out and said that, they are open to the idea of crackers being used in Diwali in any state, especially in the northern part of India?
Well, Anil, several states have given different kind of a response to the NGT, but some of the states like Punjab said that ban on firecrackers completely is not required. So, if state to state the reply differs. In fact, Delhi said that it is ready to impose ban on firecrackers from throughout whole November. So before NGT order, Delhi government has already announced a complete ban on all kind of crackers till November is over. Punjab said that complete ban is not required. Karnataka earlier said that it is going to ban the firecrackers, but then it take a U-turn and said that it will allow firecrackers. So states have given different kind of reply, but so far the NGT is concerned. NGT was very clear that it seems that its NGT is going to ban firecrackers in almost all states, but we will have to wait for the orders because some issues were raised by the states, like an argument was given to the NGT that there is no study which suggests that the COVID situation will worsen. So the NGT took a strong note on that comment and said that you cannot make such kind of statement.
Okay.
If study is not available, then as a precautionary measure, it will be better that for this time crackers remain banned. If you don't have a study, then how can you say in favor of crackers? So all these issues will be addressed by NGT's judgment today, and in fact this matter is also being heard by the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
So some states have expressed their opinion that it will be better that if crackers are banned, but we will have to wait and watch for the NGT order.
Absolutely, and because this order coming in from the NGT is going to be very critical, of course, in the context also of the matter being in the top court of the country. But at the time when we are battling the worsening air quality and also COVID-19 measures in place, both these challenges that Delhi and NCR are currently facing. So in that context too, this order from the NGT is going to be so very critical because we are battling these twin challenges together.
Right, Nancy, the Supreme Court has already heard these issues on previous occasions as well, and at one point in time, Supreme Court said that NGT is the proper authority to deal with it. So if NGT bans these crackers, then Supreme Court may not interfere with that order till Diwali is over. Supreme Court has already been hearing all those issues related to air pollution, not only crackers but burning of crop stubble, pollution because of vehicles and diesel. So all these issues are before the Supreme Court, but we have seen in the past as well that in such cases Supreme Court favors NGT decision until that decision is completely arbitrary. So given the air quality index of not only of Delhi but some other states as well, some other major cities as well, Supreme Court may not interfere with the NGT order if NGT imposes a complete ban on crackers till November.
Okay, Vikas, when you look at this particular issue, the judgments are fine, but the implementation of those judgments become difficult because we are almost in the final countdown to Diwali. Diwali is knocking at our doors. Firecrackers are already available in the market, and people have already stocked those firecrackers. In that, if you look at this particular story in that direction, the damage is already done. Does this judgment or does this observation by the NGT come pretty late? It's in the final hour that this particular judgment is coming.
Well, Anil, so far as Delhi is concerned, you can say that it will not make much difference because in Delhi the sale was already banned on regular crackers. Only green crackers were allowed. Even last time on last Diwali, even green crackers were not available in the market. But some people stock crackers already. So this is a challenge for the police and the authorities. Yes, it may not be practical in other states, in different states, because there was no ban earlier. So ample stock was available in the market, and people might have hoarded crackers already. So it will be difficult for the police and the local administration to implement the NGT order. But in places like in Delhi and the neighboring states where such kind of ban on normal crackers was already in force, so in these places the order may be implemented, but in other states, yes, it will be difficult to implement completely.
Okay. All right, Vikas, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all those inputs as far as the NGT order on the ban of the firecrackers that's expected today is concerned. Let's now move on and take a look at all the news coming in from Bihar.
Well, all arrangements are in place by the Election Commission of India for the counting of votes for the assembly elections on Tuesday. The third and last phase of polling was held on Saturday. The first two phases of polling had taken place on October 28th and November 3rd. The final phase of polling took place on November 7th. The hard-fought election saw a healthy turnout despite the COVID-19 pandemic, as the authorities stressed on the protocol arrangements. Due to the outbreak of COVID-19, 45% more polling stations were created this time, keeping in mind the social distancing aspect. Apart from this, about 2.5 lakh postal ballots were also issued. The counting will begin at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Postal ballots will be counted first. There will be more than 24 rounds of counting this time. For the counting of votes, 55 counting stations have been set up in 38 districts of the state, where the counting of votes will be done following COVID-19 protocols. 3-tier security arrangements have also been made at counting centers. While CRPF and the other central paramilitary forces will man the internal security cordon, Bihar military police and civil police jawans will be deployed in the second and third cordons respectively. DD News has deployed reporters at all polling stations to give you the results as it comes. The Election Commission has said that the counting on Tuesday shall be held in a safe and transparent manner. The counting will be also held on Tuesday for a number of assembly seats in several states that include Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Manipur, Gujarat, and a Lok Sabha by-election in the Valmiki Nagar constituency of Bihar.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Salman Haider, who's joining us from Patna this morning. Salman, all the preparations in place ahead of the big day tomorrow, and of course we know who's going to be ruling the state of Bihar, and especially, you know, the measures that have been taken for the COVID-19 pandemic, amid the COVID-19 pandemic. What sense are you getting?
Yes, Nancy, very good morning to you and Anil. This election, Vidhan Sabha election, is unique as far as from many point of views. First unique thing is it is the biggest election we have had during the COVID-19 challenges. Another thing, it is the most peaceful election Bihar has ever had. Because there was no repolling in all the three phases, barring in the second phase where in Nalanda 3 polling station gone into repolling, not for law and order, note that, not for law and order, but for an accident had occurred in which the EVM got submerged in a ditch. So the repolling was ordered for 3 polling stations only. So it was unique, and also the 106,000 polling stations were established this time, which is almost 45% more than previous election. Because of COVID-19 challenges. So everything passed off peacefully. All the 3 phases of polling has been done, and the counting, now the big day is coming tomorrow, when all the EVMs will open, and the people will satisfy their curiosity, as they are very eager, as well as candidates are very eager to know the result. So every arrangement has been made. 3-tier security cordon has been formed, as you already mentioned. So the counting, social distancing will be maintained, sanitization will be done, and as you already said, 2.5 lakhs postal ballots are there to count. So these things are mainly due to COVID, because senior citizens above 80 were delivered postal ballot papers at their home, and as you know, Divyangs were distributed postal ballots. They have casted their vote through postal ballot.
Okay.
Also,
Salman,
the service voters, yes.
Salman, since
Yes,
you
sir.
mentioned postal ballots, has there been a quantum jump when it comes to postal ballots this time, considering we are in
Yes.
COVID times in the state of Bihar?
Yes, it is quantum jump, of course, because 2 to 3 times more postal ballots were used this time because of COVID challenges only. so that the elderly people who are very vulnerable from the COVID point of view, and Divyangs should not come to the polling stations, and the ballot papers collected by the election commission from their homes only. So all these things are there. And now these postal there would be some delay due to counting of these postal ballots. As you know, it is counted manually, and this will take time. And first trend is expected by 9 a.m. however, and first result may be expected by 3 p.m.
Okay, first result expected by 3 p.m. One quick word before I let you go. What's been the sense that you gather from the political parties there, who are waiting with bated breath to know about the results? Have they asked their party workers to, to maintain, because, maintain some kind of decorum, especially since we are all in COVID times? Celebrations can get out of hand for, any of the parties in the fray there. Once you come to know the results are swinging your way.
Yesterday, the RJD chief appealed through tweets to their party workers that they should maintain restraint as far as expressing their emotions. So, and they should control their emotions, whatever the result. So, the political parties are regularly instructing their workers and leaders to maintain restraint.
Well, yes, understandably so, Salman, keeping in view the COVID-19 restrictions that all of us must adhere to as far as social distancing and, of course, taking care of our personal hygiene is concerned. Well, that's very important. Celebrations, of course, can wait, but this is a great challenge.
It's also going to be a crucial day for Salman himself, because he's going to be reporting from ground zero.
Absolutely. Do take care of yourself, Salman, as far as, these counting of the results is concerned. That takes place tomorrow. Let's now move on to some other news. Well, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the Civil Secretariat, the seat of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory administration, will today open in Jammu after functioning in the summer capital Srinagar for 6 months as part of the nearly 150-year-old practice known in the Union Territory as Darbar Move. Now, adequate security arrangements have been put in place to ensure the smooth functioning of the Civil Secretariat and other MOVE offices, including the Raj Bhavan and the police headquarters in Jammu. The Civil Secretariat and other MOVE offices, which observe a 5-day week, closed in Srinagar on 30th October, while the offices observing a 6-day week closed on 31st October. The practice of Darbar Move, under which the administration functions in Jammu during the 6 months of winter and in Srinagar during summer, was started by Maharaja Gulab Singh in 1872 to escape extreme weather conditions in the 2 regions of the state. However, the practice continued even after independence. The winter capital Jammu has been given a facelift ahead of the Darbar Move, with the administration sprucing up the roads and the pedestrian walkways with repair and paint works.
By staying with Jammu and Kashmir, the world-famous tourism spot Pangong Saw route has now got 4G services at Tangse. Leh Hill Council Executive Councillor Tashi Yakse inaugurated a 4G tower in Tangse on Sunday. This tower connects Tangse's subdivision with the rest of the world digitally. This is the first mobile tower in the entire Changthang region. After dedicating the tower to the people of Tangse area, Tashi Yakse made the first 4G video call to Chairman CEC Advocate Tashi Gailson and the Member of Parliament from Ladakh. EC Tashi congratulated the people of the Tangse area for having a mobile tower facility for the first time, which is one of the pending demands of the area. Tashi said that the coming up of the tower will improve digital connectivity of this remote subdivision with the rest of the world and prove very beneficial for everyone, especially to the students who suffered a lot due to non-availability of internet facilities for online students in Durbuk area after COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown.
In Jammu and Kashmir, at least 3 terrorists have been killed in a fierce gunfight near the line of control in the Machil area in North Kashmir's Kupwara on Sunday. 4 security personnel, including an army officer, 2 army soldiers and a BSF trooper, were martyred during the exchange of fire. Also, 2 soldiers were injured in the gunfight. The encounter broke out in the wee hours of Sunday when the BSF patrol noticed suspicious movement around 3.5 kilometers from the LOC. An encounter broke out in which one of the terrorists was killed. The other two were killed in the exchange of fire later on in the day. The Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha paid tributes to the security personnel who attained martyrdom and offered his deepest condolences to their families.
Well, the Bombay High Court will today pronounce its order on a plea filed by Republic TV chief Arnab Goswami challenging his arrest by the Mumbai police in a 2018 abetment of suicide case. The Bombay High Court on Saturday concluded hearing of all the parties in the plea of the habeas corpus filed by Arnab Goswami and reserved the orders. The High Court also allowed Goswami and other two accused to approach the Sessions Court at Alibag for regular bail and asked that the court deal with this within 4 days. Meanwhile, the Alibag Sessions Court will today hear the police revision plea challenging the magistrate's order of judicial remand to senior journalist Arnab Goswami. The Republic TV editor-in-chief was arrested in a 2-year-old abetment to suicide case on November 4th. The case was closed last year and it was reopened by the state government. The police had in its application sought the Sessions Court to quash the lower court's order and grant them custody of the 3 accused, Arnab Goswami, Firoz Sheikh and Nitesh Sarda.
And now let's take all the updates on COVID-19 from across the country. Well, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 92.49%. According to the Health Ministry, more than 49,000 COVID patients have recovered on Sunday. The total number of recoveries has gone up to over 78,68,000. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is around 5,12,000. Effective implementation of the strategic and graded test, track and treat approach has led to higher recoveries and lower fertility. Currently, India's case fertility rate stands at 1.48%, which is one of the lowest globally.
While staying with the numbers on COVID, India has leaped across a significant milestone in its fight against COVID-19 with a high number of COVID patients recovering every day. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare issued a graph showing cumulative positivity rate in the last 3 weeks.
And the national capital, Delhi, on Sunday recorded the highest single-day spike of 7,745 new cases of COVID-19 and 77 related deaths, taking the capital's tally of active cases to 4,38,528. According to the latest health bulletin, 6,069 people have recovered in the last 24 hours. A total of 3,89,683 people have recovered so far, while 6,989 have lost their lives due to COVID-19 in the national capital. The active cases of COVID-19 now stands at 41,857.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has said that the state will take a cautious view on reopening of religious places and hinted that permission may be granted post-Diwali festivities to avoid overcrowding in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chief Minister appealed to the people to continue to support the government in preventing a second wave of COVID-19.
Now, Foreign Secretary Vardhan will pay a 2-day visit to Maldives, and during his visit, the Foreign Secretary will review the entire gamut of bilateral ties and also review the progress of the ongoing bilateral projects. He'll hold discussions on the ongoing COVID-19 situation, including India's continued assistance to the Maldives for its post-COVID-19 economic recovery. The Foreign Secretary will call on the President Ibrahim Solih and will also have substantive discussions with the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Defence, Finance, Economic Development, Planning, Human Affairs, Tourism and Youth and Sports. And this will be the first high-level in-person interaction between the two countries since the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, after a look at all that's happening nationally, it's now time to shift focus and take a look at all the international stories in our segment across the globe. Well, a quick look at updates on COVID-19 pandemic from across the world. Let's take a look at the numbers there from across the globe. As of now, more than 5 crore 3 lakh coronavirus cases being reported worldwide, with the death toll now crossing the 12 lakh 61,000 mark when it comes to the world tally. Also, the positive number to look forward to when it comes to global recovery is 3 crore 57 lakh. That's the positive number that one tends to look at. United States continues to top the list among the worst hit countries by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of infections and fatalities. United States crossed the 1 crore 2 lakh mark in terms of COVID-19 cases, with the death toll now passing the mark of 2 lakh 43,000.
Now, more news from around the world. Slovakia held a second round of nationwide COVID-19 testing on Saturday and Sunday in an effort to curb increasing infections. The country launched a huge logistical operation to test most of its population over the 2 weekends, aiming to test all the citizens aged over 10 among Slovakia's 5.5 million people. The testing sites were opened at schools, sports grounds, theatres, car parks and companies. In Žilina, that's the northwestern Slovakia, testing was conducted at an old synagogue converted into a cultural center. The organizers took the opportunity to turn it into a cultural event. Residents arriving to take the test were greeted by the sounds of music performed by a DJ outside the center and were able to admire art in the museum while also waiting for their test results to come.
In Azerbaijan, people celebrated on the streets of Baku after President Ilham Aliyev on Sunday said that his country's forces has taken Shusha, which is the second largest city in the Nagorno-Karabakh enclave. However, Armenian officials deny that the city has been captured. Adding to this, Turkey President Tayyip Erdogan congratulated Azerbaijan for allegedly capturing Shusha city. Armenia's defense ministry has said that the heavy fighting for the strategic site still continues, although the defense army of Nagorno-Karabakh say they have repelled multiple attempts by the Azeri side to advance on the town. In just over a month, Azerbaijan has retaken much of the land in and around Nagorno-Karabakh that it had lost in a previous war over the territory in the 1990s.
Now, in some other news, general elections were held in the Myanmar yesterday. Voting occurred in all the constituencies to elect members to both the upper house and the lower house of the Assembly of the Union, as well as state and regional there. Supporters of Myanmar's ruling party, the National League for Democracy, gathered on the streets in support of Suu Kyi. The general elections were held for the second time since the end of 5 decades of the full military rule. Aung San Suu Kyi is expected to hold on to power even as the country struggles with the COVID-19 pandemic, a spiraling conflict in the Rakhine state, and faces genocide charges at the UN's top court.
Former US President George W. Bush on Sunday called up President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris to congratulate them on their election victory. In a statement, Bush extended congratulations and thanked Biden for the patriotic message he delivered on Saturday night. He also called Kamala Harris to congratulate her on a historic election to the vice presidency. The two-term Republican also congratulated Donald Trump for his extraordinary political achievement in winning 70 million votes. Bush's statement made him one of the country's most prominent Republicans to acknowledge Biden's victory and to offer him congratulations.
And celebrations by the supporters of Democrat Joe Biden continued in Washington on Sunday, the day after he clinched the U.S. presidential elections. A constant flow of people gathered near the White House at Black Lives Matter Plaza to celebrate the election of the new U.S. leadership. A celebratory mood was in the air most of the day as people danced, sang, took photos to capture the moment in history.
Well, a handful of supporters cheered for U.S. President Donald Trump as he returned to the White House. His allies made one thing clear, that he does not plan to concede anytime soon. Trump said that Joe Biden has not been certified as the winner of any states. The president also pledged to go forward with a legal strategy that he hopes will overturn the state results that gave Biden the win in Tuesday's vote.
And moving on now, Bolivia's Luis R. sworn in as president, ushering the country's powerful socialist party back into power a year after the long-term leftist leader Evo Morales was ousted amid angry protests that sparked off a political crisis. Ars was inaugurated in front of heads of the state from Argentina, Paraguay, Colombia and Spain. The unassuming and bespectacled former economy minister, feted as the architect of Bolivia's rapid growth under Morales, comes into office facing the huge task of healing the divisions of a political crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. Ars pledged to defeat the pandemic in the country, to heal the political risk and to put an end to fear after deadly violence last year.
In Thailand, a large number of protesters marched to the Grand Palace in Bangkok demanding royal reforms. For the second time in months of largely peaceful protests to demand greater democracy and the departure of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, the police had to use water cannons to control the demonstrators. Protesters in the country have been ongoing against the government of Prime Minister Chan-o-cha, which have included demands for reform of the Thai monarchy, unprecedented in the contemporary era. The protesters seek to put the king more clearly under the constitution, reversing changes he made shortly after taking the throne.
Now, thousands of people rallied into the Georgian capital Tbilisi to support opposition parties that have rejected the result of 31st October parliamentary elections and called for a fresh vote. After the result gave the ruling party the right to form a government, 8 opposition parties said that they would boycott the parliament. The country's economy has been hit hard by the COVID-19 outbreak.
Well, members of the British royal family and government laid wreaths during a national service of remembrance at the top on Whitehall in London. Social distancing measures were observed during the ceremony due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Queen Elizabeth, the Duchess of Cambridge and the Duchess of Cornwall took part in the ceremony from balconies above. Former Prime Ministers John Major, Tony Blair, David Cameron and Theresa May also attended the event.
And now on to updates now on Tropical Storm Eta. The storm hit central Cuba with torrential rain on Sunday, bursting the banks of the rivers and causing flash flooding in some towns before exiting via the island's northern coast and churning on track to the Florida Keys. Tens of thousands of Cubans had evacuated ahead of Eta's landfall early yesterday. The storm has killed dozens in flooding and landslides across Central America and southern Mexico. Packing maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour, it had dumped up to 328 millimeters of rain on central Cuba. The Cuba's Met Office has said, warning the ground would struggle to absorb this as it was already saturated due to recent heavy rains. Also, clearly, there's a lot making news in fact, the country and the world as well. Not just battling COVID-19 pandemic, but like we just mentioned, of course, the storm. They're making lives difficult there, and we'll be focusing on more news. What's really making it to the world of the World Wide Web with our colleague Preeti. Let's go across to her.
Well, let's go across and catch our colleague Preeti, who gets the latest from the World Wide Web.
Hi, Preeti. Good morning. Just take us through what's really making it to the news this morning.
Good morning, Nancy, and good morning, Anil. When we talk of the web portals on the social media, then almost every portal is leading with Joe Biden's victory. And also, there are many reports which suggest that Trump has refused to bow down or to demit office. But at the same time, he says that he will be proceeding with the lawsuits on Monday, that is today. But again, we'll have to see how the days ahead pan out. In our bulletins also in detail, we must have carried all the updates regarding US presidential polls. But I'll pick up this headline from the Hindustan Times, which says Biden believes US-India partnership is defining a relationship of 21st century. Now, President-elect Joe Biden has said that trade is one aspect of the relationship which can be further enhanced. And also on your screens, we have the details of the report. Biden also, when he when he last traveled to India, he set a target of taking the bilateral trade between the two countries to $500 billion, which is currently standing now at around $150 billion. Also, we saw in the campaign rallies of Donald Trump, he did say some unwelcoming remarks about a country. And this is what has been picked up by Joe Biden as well. And he says that Kamala Harris and I deeply value our partnership, and I will put respect back at the center of our foreign policy. This is what has been said by Joe Biden. The next story which I picked up is coming in from Times of India. The Times of India says no respite from severe air in Noida, Ghaziabad, Faridabad, Gurugram. Also, it is the beginning of a new week, but again, we say there is still no respite from the alarming index which is being shown, the values which are being shown on the air quality index. On your screens again, we have the statistical data there, the AQI which has been put forth in some places. When we talk of the AQI, Anil and Nancy, 0 to 50 on the index means good air quality, 51 to 100 means satisfactory, 101 to 200 means moderate, 201 to 300 means poor, 301 to 400 means very poor, and 401 to 500 means severe. So more or less, rather most of the places in the city are in the severe category, and that means that it is very difficult for healthy people also, and more dangerous is the air quality for people with sickness. And with that, I pick up the next story. The next headline I pick up is from the Indian Express. It says Arnab Goswami shifted to Taloja Central Jail, alleges threat to his life. On your screen, we have the details of that as well. Arnab Goswami says that he had been threatened, he had been pushed and assaulted in the morning, and he has requested the court to let him speak to the lawyers, which the jail authorities denied him. And he has also said, rather the jail authorities on their part have said that he was caught using his mobile phone. And that is why he has been shifted to Taloja jail. The Bombay High Court will also pronounce the order on interim bail application of Arnab Goswami today. The last story which I picked this morning is coming in from Mint. It says it is talking about the unemployment scheme. The government says claims through affidavit form are no longer required. Atal Bimit Vyakti Kalyan Yojana. In this Yojana, there has been the decision has been taken to enhance the relief from the present 25% of the average daily earnings to 50% now. Also on your screens, we have the details. It says the government has eased the criteria of the Yojana, and it says that the claim can be submitted online also with the scanned copies. Also, if the documents are not uploaded at the time of online filing of the claim, the claimant will submit the printout of the claim duly signed along with the required documents. So when we talk of the web review, that was it this morning. It's back to Anil and Nancy, both of you, for the rest of the show.
Well, thank you, Preeti, for those updates there from the World Wide Web. It's now time to move on to our next segment. What's that?
Well, yes, that's in fact taking a look at all the business stories of the day today. The 8th series of the Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme 2020-21 will open for subscription today. The government and the Reserve Bank of India have decided to offer a discount of 50 rupees per gram to those applying and paying for the scheme online. The Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme 2020-21 series will be open for subscription for the period from 9th to 13th November. The issue price of the scheme has been fixed at 5,177 rupees per gram and 5,127 rupees per gram for those applying online.
Well, the 15th Finance Commission, headed by N.K. Singh, will today submit its recommendations report to the President Arnab Goswami for fund devolution between state and centre. This report will be for 5 years, starting from the year 2022 and will end in 2025-26. The report will be important key to Union budget for the year 2021-2022. Details of the report will only be known at the time of the presentation of the budget on February 1st next year, when Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will give details about the devolution of funds based on this report. The Commission gave its interim report last year, which became the base for devolution formulae for the year 2020-2021.
And after all that news, let's move on now to our next segment. Take a look at all the sports news in Sports Track.
Well, in sports, tennis player Ramkumar Ramanathan finished runner-up in the ATP Challenger as he lost 4-6, 4-6 to 7-seed Sebastian Korda in Sunday's final. Sebastian, who had played the 4th round of the French Open against Rafael Nadal this season, won 9 points more than Ramkumar in the match and converted 3 of the 5 break points that came his way to win the match in straight sets. It was Sebastian's maiden professional singles title at any level and fetched him 100 ATP points, while Ramkumar Ramanathan picked up 60 ATP points and the runners-up check.
Now, Leicester City went top of the Premier League with 1-0 win over Wolverhampton Wanderers. Striker Waddy made no mistake with his first spot kick on 15 minutes after Wolves were penalised for handball when Dennis Pratt's cross hit Max Kilman's hand, sending keeper Rio Patricio the wrong way. Jamie Vardy scored 1 penalty and had another saved. With this win, Leicester climbed to the top of the table with 18 points from 8 games, 1 ahead of Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, our next segment that we look forward to is the health and air pollution. That's the topic that we're looking at. Is a major risk to health? Watch this report to understand the adverse effects of air pollution on our health.
Air pollution has become a major health concern. With the rise in the levels of pollutants in the air, the risk of health problems has also increased.
High levels of pollutants, that is sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, particulate matter, all of these, when they go into our lungs, they cause inflammation in our lungs, tubings of the lungs become narrow, and this leads to breathing difficulty. It leads to worsening of people who have underlying asthma, chronic bronchitis. There is also studies which suggest that exposure to air pollution over a long period of time increases chances of cancers. It also is a risk factor for developing heart attack as much as a risk factor as is smoking or high cholesterol. And therefore, pollution has an indirect effect of not only increasing allergic disorders but also causing higher chances of infections.
Breathing in the poisonous air affects everyone but can lead to severe consequences in young children, pregnant women and elderly.
All citizens, no matter what socioeconomic status we are in, have to work together to decrease levels of air pollution. Carpooling, share cars if you have to work together, if you have to go to a shopping market nearby, walk rather than taking the car, use more public transport, use the metro or use public buses, so that there is less vehicles on the road and level of pollution comes down. If there are people staying in rural area, we should encourage them to use smokeless chula, not use cow dung or wood to burn as a source of cooking. These are all factors which help to decrease levels of air pollution, and this will have a long impact on improving the health of our citizens.
Taking precautions may help to reduce the ill effects of air pollution on health. However, efforts for reduction in pollution levels and a long-term strategy is essential for pollution control. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
And let's now move on, take a look at the weather conditions for today.
Well, let's take a look at that satellite image there on your screens. Well, the satellite image clearly indicating that that due to convergence of the northeasterly winds over extreme southern peninsula India in lower tropospheric levels, what it means is that there can be rain and thunderstorms that could be expected in many places over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal, and few places over Kerala and isolated places over Rayalaseema and Lakshadweep. Rainfall recorded, also thunderstorms likely at very few places over Kerala and isolated places over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal. Well, most of the places are going to, rest of the India is going to generally have moderate weather, but especially people down in South India need to be careful of the weather conditions there. Also, there is thunderstorm with lightning at isolated places over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal and Kerala that is expected. Let's now take a look at the temperatures in your city. Well, we are at the end of this edition of Breakfast News, but remember it's a Monday morning. Monday morning is enough reason to stay committed and motivated while all those people step out of their houses to work. But for those staying and working from home, it's always a good exercise. But those stepping out, you need to be careful. We've got a campaign running for you that's called Mask Up India, and one needs to have a mask with him or her as he or she steps out of the house. And we too need to follow that. As we end this show, I'll get my mask on and I'll let Nancy take us through the watch out.
Well, yes, it's a very simple task. Just wear your mask for your safety and the safety of others around you. Well, there Anil is of course wearing his mask as we go out of the studio. I'll also be wearing mine. But before we end this edition of the Breakfast Show, we are leaving you with the glimpses of the magnificent artworks by renowned Indian sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik as congratulatory messages to the US President-elect Joe Biden and the US Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are there in fact coming in fact that artwork in a creative fashion. Take a look at those visuals and we wish you a good day ahead. Take care of yourself, be safe and do wear your mask. Thanks for being with us.